Hi, my darlings. I'm Sophie Darling, and welcome back to the channel. If you love anime, heartfelt reactions, and deep dives into symbolism and themes, then you're in the right place. Before we jump into today's reaction, don't forget to hit that like button to show some love, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment of fun. And if you want even more exclusive content like early access to my reactions, full-length anime watch-alongs, and an amazing community of fellow anime lovers, please do check out my Patreon. You can find a link in the description box below. Your support truly means the world as it helps to keep these reactions coming, and I'd love to have you join our cozy little anime family. Today, we are reacting to episode 16 of series 4 of Attack on Titan, and oh boy, episode 15 was rough emotionally. My heart was absolutely broken and destroyed. I had a feeling they were going to make me feel sorry for Zeke, and they did. This poor kid wanted nothing more than to be a kid, to be treated as someone who was worthy and loved instead of a symbol for resistance and a symbol of war. He just wanted to be loved and appreciated. He just wanted to be able to play and spend time with his parents instead of being neglected and seen as nothing more than a means to an end, as a weapon for the restorationists to reclaim the Aldean Empire and free Aldia. Again, I can understand and empathize with their goal that they want to prevent suffering and prevent oppression, but at what cost? At the cost of your own child being neglected and the cost of your own child feeling that his only worth is in becoming a warrior, and without that, that he's not of value and he's not loved. Just absolutely heart-wrenching. I'm glad that he did get a father figure, that he did get to be seen as a child, at least even for a few years before he then took over the Beast Titan abilities. But just absolutely gut punching to see the way that Grisha treated him. Like, Grisha treated him horrendously, and at least, he learned somewhat from his past in raising Eren, but at the same time, it's a little too late for poor Zeke, who believes also that Eren is brainwashed by his father without realizing that Grisha essentially never told Eren any of this. Eren had to find out through the basement. He didn't inflict the same suffering on Eren because there was no need to. In a sense, he'd already seen the pain and suffering he caused Zeke, and the consequence of that was him being turned in as a traitor and the other restorationists also being turned in. So in his mind, he doesn't want Eren to have to go through that and suffer the same things that Zeke suffered. So he did learn from his mistakes, did learn from his lesson somewhat. So Zeke's idea that Eren is a victim who's been brainwashed by Grisha isn't exactly true, though Grisha does do the whole "I'm special, therefore you're special" speech to Eren and transfers the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan to him, essentially without his consent and against his will, forces him to take it on. But now I'm beginning to think that Grisha is being influenced and manipulated too, and potentially from future memories and not from past memories, because again, the Attack Titan had memories from the future with the whole "you have to protect Mikasa and Armin," which only the future would know. How does he know? Meaning memories can be transmitted from the future to the present. So I think Grisha has been coerced and manipulated from the future into passing the Attack Titan and the Founding Titan on to Eren. And I think he also could have been coerced into taking the Founding Titan too. We know that he still had ambitions about taking the Founding Titan, about putting a stop to the vow that prevents war, but he still pleads with the family to reconsider the vow, to find a way to prevent the vow in order to protect paradise. And he does that before he transforms, which makes it seem like transforming and taking the Founding Titan is his last resort, because he's in tears, he's pleading, he's begging, he's like, please reconsider, protect your people, just please reconsider. And this was only spurred by Reiner and Bertold breaking the walls. So he knew it was Marley, which prompts him to go and retrieve the Founding Titan in order to protect Paradise, because he knows that Paradise is going to be under threat. Prior to that, there doesn't seem to be as much ambition to take the Founding Titan. It's almost as if he's kind of lay that life behind. He's put it aside. Yes, the basement still has all this information. He's still interested and infatuated with the knowledge, but he could have taken that founding titan ability a lot sooner. He already knew who had it. It's only when the walls are attacked, it's only when he realizes his wife is dead, that he then goes to them. But instead of just taking it, he beseeches them. He's like, please reconsider, please protect your people. Don't continue this vow. You need to go to war. You need to protect paradise. And when they refuse, that's when he takes it, because he feels like he has no other option, no other choice. Whereas earlier Grisha would have taken the founding titan in order to take back the Oldian Empire, to take back Malay, where it seems like he was quite content in the role that he was in as a family man, as being a father, as being a loving husband. He wasn't as infatuated with the idea of starting a war again until Marley broke the walls, and then that prompts him to seek out the founding titan, which is making me start to think that perhaps Grisha sought out the founding titan not because he wanted to start a war, but because he's maybe being influenced to take it because it's necessary for the future events of freeing humanity. But why would he plead with them and beg with them to reconsider if his ultimate ambition has always been to retrieve the founding titan? We know that he goes to paradise with the intent of finding the founding titan and taking the founding titan to free the people in Malay. But it's been years and he already knew where it was and he still didn't go and get it, which is making me think that perhaps he just didn't really have the same drive that he once had. He was happy to live in relative peace with his family, with Eren, and yes, probably still had dreams and ambitions of being free and freeing the Oldian people, but it wasn't as important as it used to be. But the attack on the walls drives him into realizing that he's not at peace. Paradise isn't at peace. They're never going to be at peace until they retake what was once theirs in order to ensure that the audience can live in peace. So that prompts him to seek out the founding titan. But again, he begs them, he pleads with them first and foremost before resorting to the fact that he has to take it. So part of me is thinking that some of this is driven by who Grisha is as a person, and part of this could be driven by an external force through memories influencing him to take the founding titan because it's necessary for what's going to happen in the future to free the Oldian people, and that he's being coerced into it because again, the Grisha we see raising Eren is a departure from the Grisha we see raising Zeke. They're almost different people because he's learned his lesson somewhat and is raising Eren differently. Again, he's still obsessed with this idea of taking the founding titan, but he's had years. He could have done it way sooner than when he did. It's only when the wars are attacked that it becomes a catalyst for taking the founding titan. But as I said, doesn't take it initially, gives them the opportunity to break the vow if possible. And when he realizes that's not going to happen, that's when he takes it. But what makes me think that Grisha's being somewhat influenced is just, again, is this whole idea that he goes from being a die-hard restorationist, that the founding titan is his be all and end all goal to free the audience, but it takes him years to even get to that point, and it's only when the walls are attacked is he driven to finally do it. He's had plenty of opportunity and plenty of time, which is making me think that perhaps his desires weren't as strong as they used to be, and that he was content to live this life. And it's only through external coercion and the wars being attacked does he realize he doesn't have a choice. He has to take the founding titan. That's been his goal all along. He's kind of tried to break away from that somewhat, but in the end, he realizes it's inevitable. So maybe he's fighting against the influence, but realizes that this is something he has to do all along. We know that he's passionate. We know that this is always what he wanted to do. But what I'm saying is that the Grisha we see after being treated as a traitor isn't the same Grisha that lived in Malay. This isn't me saying that Grisha doesn't want to free the audience, doesn't want to free them from Marley's oppression, doesn't want to take revenge on Marley. Of course he does. But I feel like the longer he lives in paradise, the less motivated he is to take the founding titan and to do that, because again he's had plenty of time and he doesn't do it. It's almost like he delays it until he has no other choice but to take the founding titan, because Marley has effectively declared war on paradise, which again is just making me think that perhaps his drive wasn't there to the same extent and that he's pushed it off in order to focus on his wife and child, to give them the life that he never could give Zeke and Dina, to atone for that mistake that he made. And then when he's really left with no choices, when he inevitably goes, fuck, I have to do this. But I still think he's been influenced. I still think there's some influence going on though. I don't think this is all Grisha. Like, we know that that was Grisha's goal entering the walls. It's what the owl entrusts him to do, is to strip the founding titan. But my point is, he had so much time in which to do it and he never did it. He was very much focused on building his family, which again, the owl told him to do. Basically said, build a family, love someone within the walls. To prevent what happened in the past, you need to not make the same mistakes in the future, which is what we do see. Grisha does go on to love his wife, does go on to love his child, does raise Eren completely differently to the way that he raises Zeke. But it is interesting that he's had so much time to take back the founding titan, but doesn't do it. But also, instead of doing it immediately, pleads with them to change their mind, gives them the chance to revoke it themselves before inevitably having to take it. So again, it's a departure in Grisha and his passion from what we've seen in terms of his actions with the restorationists in Marley to the Grisha we see within the walls, where he almost doesn't seem to want to take it. It's almost as if he knows it's inevitable that he has to do so. Because again, the owl has said to save Mikasa and Armin and everyone else, you must see it through. That is almost like Eren speaking to himself in the present from the future. It's like future Eren is speaking to the attack titan that's still within Owl, which then gets transferred to Grisha, which then gets transferred to him in the present. It's almost like the future Eren is going, okay, this is what needs to be done in order to ensure that Mikasa and Armin and everyone else is safe. I have to see it through. You must see it through. The owl wouldn't know this unless memories from the future are being sent back to him. I think Eren from the future is transmitting memories down the pathways to the attack titan in the present via the owl at the time, because that's the memories that will be transferred to Grisha and then will be transferred to Eren, because this is prior to Eren receiving the attack titan. But then the question would be, is if he can do that down the pathways, why didn't he just transmit the memories directly to himself in the present? Unless he can't do that because you can't transmit memories to your future titan self. Unless it's because he's already in possession of it. So therefore, if he was already in possession of the attack titan in the present and the future, he can't send memories back down because it's himself regardless. Whereas if he sends it to someone else, those memories then persist on when he inevitably receives the Titan form. I guess that would make sense. So it seems to be like he can't send them directly to himself because he has the attack titan. So it's almost as if the attack titan is going to block the memories from being transferred, because it's like, well, we already have it. So what difference does it make sending it to the present? It's almost like it needs to go to someone prior to him receiving the attack titan, so that then when he does receive the attack titan, those memories are already there, so that he can then receive those memories and know what the future Eren wants to be done or what needs to be done. Because this does sound like Eren is talking through the owl to Grisha. So then I'm like, could the memories of Eren in the future have gone to the owl, which gets transmitted to Grisha, that then influences Grisha's behavior and passing this down to Eren, because then Eren in the present has memories from Eren in the future. So then Eren in the present would have memories from Eren in the future and Ymir from the past. And then that would influence his decisions to see things through because he already knows what the future could be, but also what could happen from Ymir 2000 years ago. What could happen if he doesn't do what needs to be done? But he also has the memories from future Eren that shows him what needs to be done to prevent the memories that Ymir has sent from happening. So future Eren sends memories back to present Eren of what needs to be done, what needs to be seen through to prevent the future that Ymir 2000 years ago has sent to present Eren of what is going to happen if he doesn't do what future Eren's telling him to do. That's my current mindset at the moment because it does seem like future Eren's talking to present Eren through the owl. But I don't understand how future Eren couldn't just talk to present Eren anyway. Again, unless it's to do with him already being in possession of the attack titan, so it doesn't quite work that way down the pathways because the memories won't be as effective, that it needs to be transmitted to someone else prior to then be recognizable by Eren in the present because he's consumed it from someone prior. Much in the same way as Ymir transferred memories to Eren prior to him receiving the founding titan, almost as if knowing that Eren goes on to inherit the founding titan, but that Eren wouldn't be able to receive memories from Ymir in the past once he does receive the founding titan. So she had to get in there first. I don't know. I'm sure the show will make sense of it, but why would, if it is future Eren sending memories, why would he need to send it to the owl? Why couldn't he just send it to himself? It could be to do with how the pathways function. It could be that because he's already in possession of the Titan, it's not as effective, or it's not guaranteed that it would work, that it potentially has to go to someone prior, and therefore it's gone to the owl who then gives it to Grisha. Maybe it's gone to the owl. Maybe it's gone to the owl because future Eren needs to influence Grisha. So therefore, it has to go to the owl because the next person to inherit the memories is Grisha, and Grisha then has future Eren influencing his decisions, influencing him to give the abilities to Eren. Because maybe Grisha didn't want to give the abilities to Eren. Maybe he would rather the abilities die with him and didn't want to inflict that on Eren because of what happened with Zeke. So therefore, future Eren has to manipulate Grisha into doing it, because if he doesn't, then Eren will never have the abilities that he needs in order to see things through in the future. So he's going back to make sure that Grisha passes them on to Eren because he knows that Grisha might not do it, because he doesn't want Eren to suffer the same way that Zeke suffered. Because again, it's about the replication of history, the replication of the past, of making sure that the mistakes of the past don't happen again in the present. So maybe Grisha's of the understanding of, I'm not going to give this to Eren because look what happened to Zeke. I'm not going to force this on Eren in the same way. I'm going to make sure that Eren actually has a future and an opportunity to be a child and not experience the suffering that I inflicted upon Zeke through the pressure of being the sole symbol of the hope for Oldia. It's not fair to do that to him. So maybe future Eren's like, I have to go back to the owl to before Grisha consumes the attack titan so that the memories are already planted there. So then when Grisha receives them, Grisha is then influenced into doing what needs to be done to ensure that Eren has the abilities that he needs to enact the future plans to protect humanity and to protect Mikasa and Armin. Have I figured it out? Have I clicked on to this? I was wondering, I was like, why wouldn't he just send the memories to himself? I was like, this doesn't make sense at all. I was like, why wouldn't he just send it to himself? It has to be to do with Grisha. It has to be something to do with Grisha. If the theory is correct that Aaron is sending memories from the future to the present, the only reason that it would need to go to the owl is because there's messages for Grisha that Grisha needs to receive in order to ensure that Aaron inherits what needs to be inherited, in order to ensure that future Aaron can go on to do what future Aaron needs to do. This is why I love rambling on camera. I start coming up with like wild theories and my brain starts connecting things and I'm like, oh, hold up, could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be to do with Grisha? Could Grisha be influenced? Because again, it's all about making sure that the mistakes of the past don't happen again. And if Grisha's hell-bent on ensuring that Aaron does not receive the same childhood as Zeke, that Aaron has a better childhood and a better opportunity to be a child rather than a symbol of something, rather than a weapon, then he's going to ensure that happens. So it almost seems like Grisha may have to be coerced into handing these abilities down because he knows the consequence. He knows what's going to happen if he does that for his son. And he's already had one son suffer the consequences of his ambition, of the pressure of becoming a Titan, of becoming a symbol of something. So maybe he doesn't want that for Eren, and maybe he has to be coerced into passing these abilities on. I don't know, but maybe. Either way, this has been a long intro, and I was like, this isn't going to be a long intro because I just want to watch episode 16 because so much happened. But it's a long intro. I do apologize. Again, theories and rambling gets the better of me, and we're over the halfway point now to the end of Attack on Titan. So these intros and outros are going to be longer. I do apologize, but that is just what's going to happen. And without further ado, we're going to get into episode 16 of series 4 of Attack on Titan. And I'm so excited to see what happens because it kind of left on that little cliffhanger. We also haven't seen PIECK since a couple of episodes ago. So that has to come into fruition at some point.
今の音は落雷では雷奏だ。音の方向に何かあるはずだ。
Are they going to come across Zeke then? My God.
静かだな。
There's no way he's surviving that, right?
死ぬか。
Who was that? What the fuck? I thought she was gonna eat him. I thought she was coming over to eat him and we were gonna see like this random side character become the Beast Titan. But no, she's like, let me just pop you in my belly, keep you protected. Like a weird birthing scenario. And she's like, I'm just gonna take you somewhere. Because again, they're honed on finding the coordinate, which is Eren. So she may still have that ingrained in her head that I need to take Zeke to the coordinate. So she's going to take Zeke to Eren. So Zeke cannot die until this rumbling is triggered because there's absolutely no way that the rumbling is not happening because it's been talked about way too much. The rumbling is going to happen. We're kind of already dead set on that happening. So she's going to take Zeke to Eren because the rumbling has to happen. Zeke cannot die until the rumbling happens. That I'm certain of because there's no way with how every episode has pretty much talked about the rumbling that the rumbling is not going to happen.
私の言った通りになりましたね。ピクシス司令。迅速な対応に感謝いたします。全兵団に一切の抵抗を禁じ、我々の要求通り、ここ志願しなくに兵士を集結くださるとは。
脊髄液をもらえたのであれば残された手はあるまい。
What's the armbands for?
いつ巨人にされるやもしれんのだ。人払い済みのここ以外に
To
我々を
symbolize
収
that
容できる
they've
場はなかろ
consumed
う。
the spinal fluid, right?
何より幾人もの仲間に背中から銃口を
Identify
向け
them
られては
as
なす
ticking
すべは
time
ない。
bombs.
いつから裏切っておった。
答える必要はありません。
お許しを。
Yelena
どうやら
annoys me
より
so
早く
much.
願えるほどより良き立場につけるらしいの。 誇らしげに巻きつけておられる白い布はイエガー派だと堅持する勲章じゃな。ならば赤い布は脊髄液入りのワ
What's
インを
black?
服用したと知らされ服従を強いられたものか。そしてまんまとワインを飲み何も知らされなかった大半の間抜けはマーレとやり方が似ておるのう。お主らの生まれ故郷もこのようにして支配されたのではないか。
敵から学ぶことは多い。
敵の増
She's
やし
just
方も学んだ
repeating
ようじゃのう。
味
what was
方に
done
な
to
る
her.
ことを拒んだのはあなた方ではございませんでしたか？
世界が救われると申したのか。これよりジークとエレンは接触し小規模の地ならしを発動させ世界の国々に今後50年島には照らしできぬと思い知らせることが計画のは
It's
ず。
going to be a full force
救
rumble,
われる
isn't
のは
it?
この島だけではないのか。
There's no test.
すべてが遅い。ジークは十分あなたたちを待った。その慈悲に対しあなたたちは寝首をかこうと応じた。ジークは世界を救う神でありますので罰が下ることでしょう。
So Zeke's the god
それで
who's Aaron.
俺たちはここで事の成り行きを見てるだけか。
I knew she was doing
お茶
everything to
飲む
usurp
かね？
people. It's
アル
crazy.
ミン、巨人の力でここから出ることはできるか？
He would kill everyone in the
できない。
process.
この町を吹き飛ばすことしか。
お前はなんでエレンにタコ殴りにされたんだ？そろそろ話してもいいだろ
ミカサを言葉で傷つけたから。僕から手を出して殴り返された。
は？
う。ミカサを傷つけたってどんな？
Jean is so ride or die for Mikasa. He's like, I will literally kill Aaron with my bare
いや、
hands. How
よ
dare
くねえ
he?
よ。どう傷つけたのか話してくれ。
おい、
I
も
love
う
Sean
十分だろじゃん。
So much.
奴は完全にクソ野郎になっちまったってことだ。一番大事だったはずの二人を意味もなく
I
傷
don't
つけ
think
ち
he's
まう
lost
ほど
his
もう
mind.
我
I
を
think
失
he's
っちまっ
doing
た。
this to protect the
奴が
people he
正気
cares
だと
most
したら
about.
何の意味もなくそんなことをするとは思えない。
Agree, Jean. There's meaning. He's doing it to protect them by keeping them out of it.
このような場所での再会、とても心苦しいです。
I hate you so much.
お前もそっちかよ。出せよ。
Yelena's planned all of
散々連
this.
れましといて、それは虫が良すぎるんじゃないのか。
And yet you're siding with her, and she didn't trust you to tell you about meeting with Aaron. She's betrayed you and gone behind your back.
エレンはお前を介してジークの思
The
い通りに
military, so that
マーレを
Aaron would be in
襲撃させ
charge.
エルディア国民の支持を得て脊髄液入りのワインで兵団を支配しちまったんだからな。これでお前たちはエルディア国と始祖の力を手に入れマーレを滅ぼして祖国の復讐を果たす。
島を発展させただろう。100年遅れのこの未開の島を。
ああ、お前らが快適に暮らすためにだろう。
Yeah.
島の統治者となるお前らがクリーズ。俺たちを撃ってイエレナの下僕に昇格したみてえだな、このチクリ野郎。
悪魔どもに肩入れして裏切ったのはお前だろう。
なんだと。
悪
he fell in
魔
love
の
with
末裔の
Sasha.
芋くせえ女なんぞに鼻の下伸ばしやがって。
Kill him. Do it.
あのバイタが死んで正気に戻るかと思った俺がバカだった。
てめえ今なんつった。
わかるように言ってやるよ。あのバイタは汚れた。
In front of
彼の比例
kids.
をお詫びいたします。そして信じてください。我々の真の目的はマーレへの復讐などという空虚なものではありません。
Jesus Christ,
世
she
界
has
から
no
憎しみ
chill.
の連鎖を断ち切り、エルディアとマーレでさえも救うことが目的なのです。世界を救うジークの秘策、安
Euthanization.
楽死計画のすべてを。
ファルコを助けたかったら協力しろ。
Help him do what?
力何を。
無線で助けを呼んでもらう。壁内の侵入者が
Oh,
反応を示すようにな。
動かないで。ガビも静かに。
I didn't even recognize her at first.
君がエレン・イエーガーで会ってる。よね。
Oh my goodness. Didn't even. This show is so subtly good at doing things. It's like when Aaron just walks in on Armin and Mikasa, and I was like, huh? Didn't even think twice about who it was. And then the same here, Pete just walked in just thought it was another person joining them, didn't even realize it was PIECK. Oh my goodness. Okay, I wonder if Reina's here. PIECK's shown herself, but PIECK would only show herself if she felt she had the upper hand to do so, which is making me think that potentially the others are in hiding, waiting, that they're building to something. I don't know. But yeah, Yelena, I can see why Yelena shot the guy, because he started going, spawn of the devil, still reiterating that hatred for the subjects of Emir, and everyone that's siding with her is supposed to be letting go of that rhetoric. She has no need for people to be on her side that still see the others as devils, as something reviled and disgusting. So of course she's going to get rid of him, but does she have to do it in front of the kids? Like, there's literal children there. They've already seen enough. Does she have to do it in front of the kids? She could have just, took him elsewhere and done it. I guess in her mind it was now or never. I guess it's also just part of showing her callousness and her ruthlessness, is that she's not necessarily thinking about others. She's thinking about what's in the best interest for herself, what's in the best interest for their goals, their ideas, instead of what's best for everyone. Again, that's why they're siding with this whole euthanization process, which I just don't agree with, because it's just ethnic cleansing by another name. It's not actually going to solve anything. You're just essentially punishing people for the sins of the past, but not only punishing them for the sins of the past, you're also hell-bent on erasing them as a race, which is just ethnic cleansing. Again, it's just ethnic cleansing under a nicer name. I can't side with that. I don't agree with that. I think the audience deserve to live and to be given an opportunity to prove that they're not monsters, to have the chance to correct history's narrative. They need time to do that. But yes, it's not an easy process. And I know there's going to be people that sit there and go, oh, but you just expect the world to work with them after everything they've done in the past. In the past, the present audience are not the same as the past. If we use that rhetoric, we are justifying punishing them for the sins of the past, which is what we're not supposed to be doing. We shouldn't be replicating that. We can understand why the world doesn't trust them, why the world sees them as a threat, sees them as the enemy, and we can empathize with that. But we can also understand that nothing is going to be resolved, nothing's going to be fixed if people aren't willing to come together to talk and work things out. They need time to correct that narrative, but they also need to be given the opportunity to correct that narrative, to prove that they're not monsters, to prove that they can be something other than what the world has said that they are. They need time to do that. And part of this act of self-defense is to give time for that to happen. I think the euthanization process is just ethnic cleansing by another name, and it's not something that I can side or align myself with. But also this whole idea of, well, if you were in this world, would you be able to trust them? Would you be able to move forward? Would you be able to forgive them? Can you not understand why they want to go to war with them? I can understand why they want to go to war with them, but I also understand that at some point the cycle needs to be broken. You need to stop blaming people for the mistakes of the past, and you also need to find a way forward that is progressive and inclusive for all. You need to stop clinging on to a narrative that no longer applies. That's the lesson here that we're supposed to be learning, is that we need to break the cycle. We need to break away from using history as a justification to mistreat people. We need to stop idolizing ideas of revenge because of what happened in the past. We need to find a way to move beyond that, because if we keep two eyes on the past, we remain blind. We have to keep one eye on the past and one eye on the future in order to move forward. We can't keep both eyes on the past, and that's the issue that's happening, is everybody is keeping two eyes on the past, on what happened before, instead of looking how they can progress forward, how they can maybe work with Paradise, how they could maybe find ways to collaborate and come together. And yes, trust isn't built overnight, but just sanctioning the idea of war and erasure and getting rid of the audience because you can't trust them is akin to also punishing them for the sins of the past, is akin to justifying the mistreatment and oppression of the audience. We need to move beyond that narrative. We can empathize and understand why the world sees them the way that they do, but we can also condemn that attitude and promote more alternative methods going forward. We can look at ways that they can come together and work together. We can promote the idea of talks. How do you think wars come to an end? Peace talks. People sit down, they talk things out, sanctions are applied. There has to be a way forward that isn't repeating the mistakes of the past, that isn't justifying the erasure of the audience. And I believe that's what Aaron's trying to do, is find a way forward for everybody, not just the audience, but everyone who exists in this world, because they're all special because they were born into this world. I just don't agree with this whole, well, why wouldn't you go to war with them? Because look at what they did in the past. Why would you trust them? That they're able to be turned into titans? Well, we already know that the physiology of the body can also be changed. So what's to say that Eren doesn't change it so that they can never become titans to begin with? That's something that could be done that wouldn't involve the idea of erasing them. If you can prevent them from having babies, surely you can prevent them from becoming titans in the first place. Maybe that's something that they can work together with. But I still think this idea of removing the intelligent titans, of locking the intelligent titans behind a vow, if that is possible, is the way forward for humanity to come together and work together beyond the narrative of, well, look what they did to us in the past, therefore they deserve to be punished in the present. Oh, they're monsters because of what their bloodline is. But that's not fair. They didn't choose to be born. They didn't choose to have these abilities. So why should they be punished for it? Why should they be wiped out because of it? Why are you not able to move forward and look to the present and look to the future rather than the past? That's the point I'm making, is that something needs to give. The cycle needs to be broken somehow, and Aaron's going to break that cycle. I don't think it's going to be the way that the Jaegerists want it. I think he's using the Jaegerists for his own goals. I don't think he fully aligns with this idea of building an empire again. I think in his mind, he's using them as a means to an end to get where he needs to be. That they think Aaron's doing it to rebuild the empire, but it's actually to bring everyone together, and they're going to be like, hold up a second, this isn't what I signed up for. I think he's using them much in the same way I think he's manipulating Zeke so that Zeke will agree to the rumbling, because he believes that Aaron's on his side, but Aaron's not on his side. Because I think for someone that puts so much stock in this idea of being born because I was born into this world, of not being trapped, of wanting to be free, this idea of condemning everyone who is a subject of Emir to being wiped out in 100 years doesn't align with his idea of life. He could have had a change of perspective, but I don't agree. I think he puts too much stock on being special because you're being born, but also this whole idea of freedom. You're just confining them further by enacting this euthanization project. You're confining them, you're trapping them, you're not actually giving them freedom to make their own choices in life, to live their life freely because they know that they're living their life on borrowed time. You've prevented them from having children through forced sterilization, and then eventually they will all die out. It's not freedom, it's ethnic cleansing under another name, and I don't think Eren would side with that. I could be wrong, but I just don't believe that that's Eren's ideals. Fortified residential district of Paradise Island, where the operation to retake the founding Titan began in 845. In the 5 years following the fall of War Maria, it was inhabited by Titans. However, with the operation's failure, the hole was plugged by Eren Yeager, and the current state of the district is unknown. The primary goal of the new strategy is for the Cart Titan and Jaw Titan to infiltrate Shiganshina, the southernmost district. Oh, so the Jaw Titan's also here. Where's Reiner? Did Reiner stay behind?
そのライフルをエレンに向けて
Eren's so unfazed. He's like, try it.
ガビエレンポケットから手を出して
従わなければどうなる？
She'll shoot
引き金
you.
を引くあなたの脳みそが床に散らばる
いや、わかる。あんたは撃たない。始祖の巨人を殺すことは許可されてない。
Too important.
命令は必ず始祖を奪還せよだ。この後に及んでも、あんたは一旦巨人になってから俺を生かしたまま食わなくちゃいけない。だろ？
はい撃てませんあなたを食べることもほんと無理あると思うしどうもねフィックさん
I can't tell if she's being genuine or if she's feigning.
あなたが始祖の力を使えたらマーレを倒せるんじゃないかと思って賞賛もなしに全世界を敵に回したわけじゃないんでしょでも
She having second thoughts.
始祖の力以外に何かある
だとしたら何が望みだ？
マーレおよび世界から支配されているエルディア人の解放。
Or maybe she is having second thoughts.
私の家族を収容所から出してあげたい。
I mean, who wouldn't?
私はたった一人の家族である父にまともな医療を受けさせるため戦士になった。父の命は伸びたけど、私に任期が残されていないことを知った父は
She
悲
wants
し
to
みに暮れ
free
ている。
him before her term is
死ぬ
over.
前に一人残される父に私の手でエルディアの明るい未来を見つそのためにはマーレを叩き潰す必
I
要
mean,
がある。
Who
私は何でも
wouldn't
協力する。
be motivated
Mario,
by the
皆殺しに
idea
で
of
きるのなら
bringing your oppressors
私は
down?
何だってやる。
But I don't know if she's being genuine or if she is attempting to manipulate
マーレを
him.
襲撃した首謀者はジークさんだった。善良なエルディア人だと世界から認められたらいつかエルディアは解放されるんじゃなかったの？
Oh,
あなたも
Gabby.
ジークと同じ裏切り者なの？
私たちはマーレ人、エルディア人、何だと思う？
私たちは名誉マーレ人。
違う。
Mm.
私たちはユミルの民。これだけが逃れようのない事
Something that she needs to
何
accept.
人を名乗ろうと。私たちは巨人になることができる人種。私たちの力で人権を勝ち取るしかないの。
They have to fight for it.
証明しろ。あんたがこっちに協力するってんなら何か証拠を見せろ。
God, the OST is so
こ
good.
の町に潜む仲間の位置を教える。
いいだろ
子供が生まれなくなる。
そうです。
Oh, okay. So
それが
is
ジ
she
ークの
actually
安楽
going
死計
to
この世から
betray
巨
her
人がいることで
comrades?
存
Or
在する苦しみが生
is
じ
this
なくな
part
る
of
の
a
です
plan to trap him?
ゆっくりと安らかに。
いや待て、安らかなもんかよ。こんな状態でどう国を守る？他の国が放っておくとでも。
そこに関しては従来通り地ならしの抑止力を行使できるよう始祖と王家の継承維持が不可欠なままです。
So just using her
その子
child
が天命を全うするまで
to
数名の
replicate
ユミルの民が
the
始祖
cycle
の
she
巨
tried
人
to
を継
break.
承すれば万全絶対そんなものどこの国にも存在しません。
So then,
どの
if
国
no
も
nation
様々
can
な
claim
問題
it,
を抱えています。
why is it so certain that no one will be able to find a peaceful way to
強
coexist?
大なる巨人の脅威、血と涙の歴史に終止符を打つ者が存在したという真実です。ジークとエレン、カの兄弟はこの先何千年も語り継がれる象徴となるのです。古代の神々がそうであるように。どうされましたか？
そのような尊いお考えがあったと感動いたし
He's
ました。
being sarcastic. There's no
それ
way.
はよかった。
He's
嬉しいで
being
す。あ
manipulative.
なたにも分かっていただけて。
There's no way
一人殺された。
Armin's being genuine there.
なんだと？だがマーレを裏切ったらしい。
私はあなたたちの仲間になれたってことでいいの？
あんたが他の侵入者を差し出せばな。
Why do I feel like PIECK's playing a game?
下手に巨人化すればその子は粉々だろう。
安心して。この子もすぐに分かってくれるから。
I feel like she believes what she's saying, but I also think she's playing a game as well. That this is part of a trap.
ファルコはどこにいるの？
ファルコもここにいるが、ジークの脊髄液を口にしちまっている。
ジークにはなぜそんな特別な能力があるのか知ってる？
さあな、あんたは知ってるのか？
いいえ、誰も知らなかった。ジーク以外は。出会った時からジークは常に嘘をつき続けているように見えていたけど、それが確信に変わったのが4年前。信じてほしい。俺はお前の理解者だ、エレン。
So we're both raised by Grisha.
救い出してやるからな。あら、顎ひげは剃っちゃったの？とっても似合ってたのに。
あの女を信用するのはあまりにも危険です。
ああ、信用していないがあの女も同じだ。
ところで、まだ始祖の力は使わないの？ジークはどこ？
すぐにわかることだ。示せ。
I have a really bad feeling. Oh god. They're gonna jump, aren't they? They're gonna jump.
そこ
There's the invader. Eren. They're gonna jump. Fuck! He was hiding under the floor. Round 2, let's go. Oh shit, they're all underneath though.
巨人たちが動き出した。ピークス、裏切ったんじゃなかったの？
I was gonna say, I was like,
私が仲間を売ると思ったの？
I can understand what she's
マーレ
saying
に
and
使えても私た
empathize,
ちに未来は
but
ないって。
見て
she doesn't strike me as someone to betray the people she loves and
私は
cares
マ
for
ーレを信
most.
じてない。私は一緒に戦ってきた仲間を信じている。
Oh god!
のろし上がっている。ピークとガリアードが奴の位置を暴いた。
Reiner's here.
始祖の巨人だ。レベリオの雪辱を果たせ。ここで奴を終わりにしてやる。
来いよ、
Oh my god!
ライナー。
Oh, okay. So Reiner is here. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I completely get where Pika's coming from, and she's very good with what she says. She picks her words carefully, that she knows what's going to align them with her beliefs of, well, I want my dad to be free, and the only way to do that is to crush Marley, because look at how they've mistreated us. You know, playing up to this idea that she could possibly betray the people she cares most about, because why would she be doubted? She has just as much of a grudge against Marley as anybody else. She doesn't trust Marley, as she said, but she trusts the people she fought alongside, which is Gilead, Reiner, but even Magath, because Magath has shown that he actually genuinely cares for them, as much as he has been raised to believe that the audience are devils, are people that they can't trust and align themselves with. He very evidently still cares for the audience and at least the warriors and the candidates and for their well-being. So enough to feel betrayed by Zeke, enough to have taken that personally alongside the others as well. So I was a bit like, I don't know if she's being genuine here, because again, on the one hand, you could completely understand if she was being genuine. She has a valid reason to not want to side with the Malians. If she became a traitor, you would get it. You would understand it. But I was also a bit like, she's very quick to sell out. She's very quick to switch. And as Eren said, like, I don't trust her, but it's mutual. She doesn't trust him. I didn't expect him to be underneath the floors, to come up like that. That was insane. I knew he was somewhere, but I thought she was going to point him out or maybe bait Eren into a trap. But then again, who's to say that Eren would actually go and wouldn't send other people in his place? I don't know. But it's all going to kick off now. Reiner's on the airship. They're about to have round 2. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cope with the idea of Eren defeating Reiner and the consequence of what that could be if Reiner doesn't beat Eren, but I can't see Reiner dying anytime soon, primarily because there's still a lot for Reiner in terms of character development. Reiner can do a lot in terms of helping pave the way forward. Maybe they'll capture him instead of kill him. Maybe they have some use for him. Maybe they'll have some use for all of them, and that's why they capture all of them. Maybe even temporarily until Eren can take their abilities, but they're able to get out or get free. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I don't see Reiner dying yet, at least. I think if he is going to die, there'll be more build up to it. And if he dies, it'll be sacrificing himself to save those he loves and cares about, because that's all he's ever wanted to be, is to be a hero. And I can't see that happening just yet. It could be that he sacrificed himself for Gabby, that he dies to protect her, because that's all he ever wanted to do, was protect Gabby, to prevent her from becoming a Titan, from having to go through what he's had to go through and the consequences of that. But either way, ooh, this is exciting. I love that Yelena even was like, no, don't trust her because they know each other. They've had interactions before, and it's probably like PIECK is emotionally manipulating the scenario. She's playing up to things. And I think Armin is doing the same thing. I don't think Armin's genuinely crying because he's like, this is such a beautiful idea. Because the others are looking at him like, what the fuck are you going on about? Armin's doing it in the same way that he emotionally manipulated Bertold. He's very good at playing on people's ego and also their weaknesses. And I think that's what he was attempting to do, was to play on Yelena's ego. He's wanting to seem like he agrees with it because in theory he has an idea of how to prevent it from happening, or that he feels that he can get out and maybe speak with Eren and prevent it from happening. I don't think that Armin believes that this is a good idea for peace. And the way that they keep talking about it, like, oh, they'll be known for millennia by all of humanity as bringing about peace. Yeah, bar the audience who are about to be erased. They're going to be ethnically cleansed from this world. And yes, the rumbling would keep them safe for 50 years. But once those 50 years are done and it's all older people, as Jean is saying, who's to say they're going to be left alone? And who's to say that people aren't going to attempt to get rid of them then when they're weaker and less able? And also, it's just another ethnic cleansing against them. So what would be the point? What would be the point of that? You're literally putting them in danger to be ethnically cleansed, regardless of which direction you go into. And she's so infatuated with the idea of Zeke and Eren being remembered as gods, as bringing about peace to this new world, a new world that the audience aren't going to see because they would only live another 100 years. You've doomed them to be erased. You've doomed them to die out in the process. And yes, in your mind, it's bringing peace and it's bringing an end to war and conflict. But for how long? Because yes, the rumbling would prevent it for 50 years, but then that doesn't mean that they wouldn't attack again. But also, just because they're not attacking Oldia and the audience doesn't mean that they're not going to attack each other. We've already seen that they're quite happy to have wars with each other, so it doesn't prevent anything. It doesn't stop war. It doesn't stop conflict. It just stops them from using the Titans as weapons in this war, but it doesn't prevent them from having a war. You know what I mean? Like, either way, I just don't think this euthanization project is going to happen. I think it's a project that is doomed to die because I just don't believe that Eren would ever subject people to that, especially since he's so obsessed with the idea of living in peace, of having an opportunity to establish one's own future, one's own destiny, and preventing them from having children and passing that legacy on, that freedom on, is akin to just ethnic cleansing. So no, I don't believe that Eren would side with it. But oh my god, I'm so excited to see how this next episode plays out because I did not expect it all to kick off in this episode. And Eren's gunning for Reiner because he's like, Reiner! So like they're gonna have a showdown. Ooh. I am scared though. I'm scared and nervous and excited to see how everything inevitably plays out. And I think Armin's manipulating things as usual again. There isn't really too much for me to talk about because this just kind of builds up to the confrontation between Eren and Reiner. I've kind of hit all the main talking points, which is PIECK's emotional manipulation and how you could understand if she was to side with Eren, but that she values and loves her comrades more and trusts them more than she will ever trust Eren, because Eren essentially brought devastation and destruction to her people, her hometown. So why would she trust him? Because he did to her, yes, what they did to them in turn, but that means that she can't trust him because he's already caused untold devastation upon the place that she's grown up in and to the people that she loves. And he's the reason that Sophia died and also Udo. So she can't forgive that and she's not going to forget it either. So likewise, she's going to side with the people that she can put her trust and faith in, which is the other warriors and also Magif, because he does care for them. He does trust them. And as much as he tries not to show it, he does truly admire them. We didn't see Levi or Zeke in this episode, but we do know that they're heading in that direction. we didn't see any more of what happened with Zeke after he got placed in that belly. I still think that that Titan's goal is to take him to Eren, so it's probably going to head towards the town in order to deliver him to Eren. But we didn't see what happened to Levi. We haven't seen Levi, so we don't know if he got out. We don't know if he's alive, if he's okay. I think he's alive. I think it takes a lot more than that to kill Levi, but we still don't know what's ongoing there, which is crazy that they're not showing us that yet. But yeah, I'm kind of nervous to see how that all plays out and how Reiner and Eren showdown happens once more. But yeah, I haven't really got too much to say because again, it's just kind of more of a follow-on episode. It's the build up to the confrontation, so there isn't too much to talk on that I haven't already talked on. Also, the whole revelation of the euthanization project. Of course, it's not going to be agreed with. And I think, like the others, Eren's not going to agree with it either. I think Armin's playing a game here in order to get out. I don't think Armin is going to willingly side with Yelena. So this is just confirmed essentially that Historia is actually pregnant, but she's just repeating the same cycle as before because Eren was so adamant that the next generation wouldn't have to pay the consequence of the present generation, that we shouldn't be forcing children to be continuously born into this cycle of maintaining the royal bloodline solely for it to be used for the founding titan. It was that children were being born in order to ensure that the founding titan was locked away behind this vow, and now it's this idea that so long as Queen Historia's child lives, the rumbling will always be a deterrent until the last Aldean passes away, or until the child passes away, because this will be Historia's only child if the euthanization project goes the way that they're intending, because she won't be able to have any more children. So essentially, this child is the deterrent for future attacks, because so long as this child lives and the founding titan is passed on, no one is going to attack until the child passes away and the rumbling's no longer a threat, because the founding titan actually can't be used because there's no one with the royal bloodline in order to ensure that those abilities can be locked. But again, it's vehemently what Eren stood against when it was brought up, because this was Zeke's idea. Zeke's idea was that you would keep having children to keep the royal bloodline going, but also so that the founding titan had someone that they could connect with in order to use the abilities. And Eren was like, no, why should we be living our lives as breeding stock? But also, why should we then be trapped in this cycle of punishing the next generation for the present generation's mistakes? Hanji was also questioning that. Hanji was the one that said, should we really pass these responsibilities onto the next generation instead of fixing them ourselves? And she's correct. We shouldn't be doing that, but neither should we be treating Historia as breeding stock, which is essentially what she's now become. So I'm hoping that the way they spin this pregnancy is that in the end, this child never has to go through what Historia gets to go through, and that she potentially gets to become the mother figure to her child that she never had, that it becomes a positive, it becomes a healing experience for her, that she gets to have a child that is unburdened from the responsibility of the royal bloodline in a way that she never truly was, that she's made this sacrifice in order to ensure that her child will be free inevitably, that it's potentially healing for her because she gets to be the mother that she never had because her own mother despised and mistreated her because of her bloodline, that she now gets to correct those mistakes with her child, that her child never gets to suffer the same mistreatment. That's what I'm hoping. As to whether that's how it's going to play out, I don't know. I just don't like this idea that she's now trapped back into that cycle of only having children for the purpose of what it means in relation to the founding titan, that her children aren't actually free, they're just doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. And to me, Historia would be better staying celibate and never having children if it was to protect the next generation from ever going through that, which makes me think that there has to be a more positive connotation to it eventually. That at the minute it seems like the replication of the cycle, but in later episodes it becomes a healing moment for her, that it becomes a way for her to positively connect with her bloodline through her interaction with her children, through her children having the ability to make decisions for themselves with the love and support of their mother in a way that Historia never had. She never had a family. So maybe this could be a healing thing for her, that she gets a family who isn't burdened by that bloodline in the same way that she was. That's what I'm hoping it is. As to whether that's what it's going to be, I don't know. But at the minute, it irks me that she's been subsumed back into the cycle that she's spent so long breaking away from. She should have been living happily ever after with Emia and not pregnant with some random guy that we've never had any interaction with. That's what should be happening here. Her and Emia should be happy raising children in the orphanage, adopting children from the orphanage, and just living a sapphic romance. But no, we now have Historia sidelined into repeating these cycles of the past and also being pregnant and not really having a narrative beyond that. It really irks me that they've just kind of brushed her off as being pregnant on a homestead somewhere and don't actually really give us any depth into Historia. Oh, it kind of doesn't really give me hopes that they're going to expand on her much this season. And this may be my biggest gripe with Attack on Titan, is if they just sideline her for the entire series and don't actually give us any depth into her interaction with her child, into her feelings around being pregnant. Of course, she doesn't seem happy because it's like she's being subsumed back into what she's broken away from, solely for the benefit of everyone else and not for herself. She spent so long living for others and breaking away from that to be independent and to be herself, that she's now being used and manipulated again for others' gain. And it irks me. It annoys me. And I don't want that to be the case. I don't want Historia to be forced into that life. That annoys me. I don't like it. But I think that's all I have to say for now. I think. I said that about 20 minutes ago, maybe not 20 minutes ago, and then got sucked back into talking. But yes, I think that's everything I have to say for now. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this react, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below to help boost this video into the algorithm. And until next episode, bye!